Youth often brings to mind innocence, yet the world's youngest serial offenders shatter this ideal. Their unsettling actions reveal the darkness that can lie within, as we delve into the disturbing journeys of these individuals whose early lives were shadowed by shocking violence. Amari Sada. Amari Sada's case is exceptionally rare. Dubbed the world's youngest serial offender, he allegedly took 3 lives before turning 8. Born to a poor family in Musahar village, Bihar, India, Amari was a quiet child who enjoyed climbing trees and wandering nearby areas. His life took a dark turn when his aunt, recently employed in a city, left him to care for her child and his younger sister as she settled into her new role. Amari reportedly started with small acts of cruelty, pinching and slapping the baby, seemingly amused by its cries. His actions escalated as he pressed his hands on the baby's throat to silence its breathing. After killing his cousin, he hid the body under grass and returned home. When he confessed to his mother, she was horrified. Though his father punished him physically, they chose to conceal the incident from the authorities, telling his aunt a fabricated story. His next victim was his own 8-month-old sister, whom he strangled as his parents slept. According to his uncle, some family members were aware but saw it as a family issue. The crimes went unreported until Amari killed a 3rd infant in 2007, his alleged final victim, a 6-month-old girl named Kusi. Her mother, a neighbor, reported her missing after leaving her at a local school. Amari admitted to strangling the infant and hitting her with a brick, then led the villagers to her burial site. Police detained him, where he confessed to killing his sister 3 months earlier and his cousin the year before. He was notably silent but often wore a smile. Under Indian law, a child cannot be imprisoned, instead, he was placed in a children's home until adulthood. Psychiatric tests suggested he had conduct disorders, and he was sent to a facility in Munger. The Beaver Brothers. News often references the Beaver Brothers, but here, we explore the tragic story of Robert and Michael Beaver, whose heinous crimes shocked Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, in 2015. The brothers planned and executed a brutal attack on their own family, claiming the lives of their parents and siblings. On July 22, 2015, armed with knives and a hatchet, they launched a ferocious assault on their parents, David and April Beaver, and younger siblings, killing their parents and 2 siblings, Daniel and Victoria. 2 other siblings survived but sustained serious injuries. The motive remains speculative. Reports suggested the brothers were fascinated by violence, adding complexity to the case. During interrogation, Michael revealed chilling details, describing a sequence of events. Michael called his sister into a room, diverting her attention while Robert attacked. Their mother was targeted next, followed by their father. Daniel, their brother, barricaded himself in his room, frantically calling 911. Michael deceived him, convincing Daniel to open the door by claiming Robert was also after him. Tragically, this allowed Michael entry, and the call disconnected. Robert swiftly followed, determined to complete their plan. Their older sister managed to flee outside, triggering the alarm, which Michael quickly disabled. He then forced her back inside and subjected her to further violence. 2 younger siblings, aged 5 and 7, locked themselves in a bathroom. Michael manipulated them into opening the door by claiming Robert was targeting everyone. Michael then killed his 7-year-old brother while Robert attacked the 5-year-old. Police arrived shortly after Daniel's desperate call, ending the assault. Following their arrest, both were tried as adults. Robert pleaded guilty in 2016 to 5 counts of murder, receiving life sentences without parole. Michael, opting for trial in 2018, was found guilty on all charges and similarly sentenced to life without parole, ensuring they would never threaten society again. Michael Hernandez. Michael Hernandez, born in February 1988 in Miami, Florida, appeared at first as a bright, well-mannered student with strong academics. However, underlying issues would later lead to a horrific crime. In 2004, at just 14, Hernandez committed an act that shocked the nation. He lured his classmate Jamie Goff into a bathroom stall at Southwood Middle School in Miami, where he attacked him with a knife, ultimately ending his life. The brutal nature of the crime and the young ages of both individuals sent shockwaves through the community. Motives for Hernandez's actions are still debated. He reportedly had a fascination with serial offenders and regularly researched their methods. A journal filled with violent drawings and writings also surfaced. Following his arrest, he faced trial in 2008. The prosecution presented substantial evidence, including surveillance footage and testimonies from classmates, showing the premeditated nature of his crime. Hernandez, though only 14, was tried as an adult, sparking debates about juvenile punishment. He was found guilty and sentenced to life without parole. Tears filled his eyes upon hearing his fate, reflecting the gravity of his actions. His case brought attention to the juvenile justice system and questions about rehabilitation. Despite appeals, he remained incarcerated and died in 2021 from cardiac arrhythmia. Brenda Spencer. Brenda Spencer's name became synonymous with a tragic event that highlighted mental health and firearm access issues. Born April 3, 1962, in San Diego, California, Spencer's actions on January 29, 1979, shocked her community and the nation. At 16, she committed a deadly act, firing from her window with a .22 caliber rifle onto Grover Cleveland Elementary School, killing 2 and injuring 9. Among those killed were Principal Burton Ragg and custodian Mike Sucher. When questioned about her motive, she famously replied, "I don't like Mondays," a response that left the nation puzzled. Further investigation revealed her troubled upbringing, a fascination with firearms, and a history of violent behavior and depression. Her father, regrettably, had gifted her the rifle. Spencer was sentenced to 25 years to life despite multiple appeals, underscoring the need to address mental health and prevent firearm access for at-risk individuals. Edmund Kemper. Edmund Kemper, infamously known as the co-ed killer, committed a string of heinous acts in the 1970s, earning a place among the most notorious serial offenders in American history. Born in 1948 in Burbank, California, Kemper displayed disturbing behavior from a young age. His relationship with his mother was deeply troubled, leading him to harbor intense resentment toward her. Kemper's childhood included violent fantasies and acts of animal cruelty, considered warning signs of future violence. His criminal activities began in 1964, at only 15 years old, when he took the lives of his grandparents. He shot his grandmother and attacked his grandfather with a knife, later claiming he wanted to experience the feeling of controlling life and death. After several years in a mental institution, he was released in 1969, despite warnings from psychiatrists about his potential for violence. Tragically, their fears were realized. Kemper went on to kill multiple young women, mostly college students whom he picked up while they were hitchhiking. He would lure them to secluded areas, where he strangled and dismembered them. Kemper's violent tendencies culminated in the murder of his mother and her friend in 1973. After decapitating his mother, he performed horrific acts with her remains before disposing of them. Following this, he surrendered to the police, confessing to his series of crimes. In 1973, Kemper was convicted on 8 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Known for his high intelligence, Kemper has cooperated with psychologists, offering insight into his motivations and mind. His case has provided significant understanding of serial offenders for criminal profiling and psychological research. James Fairweather. Known as the Colchester Killer, James Fairweather, born in 1999, stands out as one of the youngest convicted serial offenders in the UK. His dark path began in Colchester, Essex, in 2014, when he was only 15. Over a few months, he killed 2 unsuspecting individuals in brutal attacks. His first victim, James Atfield, was a 33-year-old man with a brain injury who frequented local parks. Fairweather attacked Atfield with a knife, stabbing him over 100 times, and left him for dead. 2 months later, Fairweather struck again, targeting Naheed Almania, a 31-year-old Saudi Arabian student on her way to the University of Essex. He ambushed her, stabbing her multiple times and leaving her body along a pathway. Colchester was gripped with fear as people struggled to comprehend how a young teen could commit such horrific acts. Fairweather was eventually caught due to his unsettling boasts and threats to a friend, who alerted authorities. During questioning, Fairweather admitted to hearing voices urging him to make sacrifices. In 2015, he stood trial and was convicted on 2 counts of murder, receiving a 27-year sentence. The judge noted the brutality of his actions and the danger he posed, and his sentence reflected this. Fairweather's case highlighted the disturbing potential for violence in youth and emphasized the importance of vigilant, preventative measures in communities. Alissa Bustamante. Alissa Bustamante, born in 1994 in Missouri, committed a horrifying crime that sent shockwaves across the country. On October 21, 2009, at just 15 years old, Bustamante lured her 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Olton, into the woods. There, she strangled Elizabeth and assaulted her with a knife before burying her in a shallow grave, attempting to conceal her actions. During the trial, it became clear that Bustamante's troubled past, marked by neglect, abuse, and mental health struggles, played a role in her actions. She had a documented history of depression and self-harm and was fascinated by death, as seen in her writings and drawings. Her age and the gravity of the crime sparked debates on appropriate punishment for juvenile offenders. In 2012, Bustamante pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and armed criminal action, receiving a life sentence with potential release in 2024. Her case underscored the need for early mental health intervention for troubled youth and access to resources that could prevent acts of extreme violence. Eric Smith. Eric Smith, born on January 22, 1980, shocked the community of Steuben County, New York, by committing a heinous crime at the young age of 13. In 1993, Smith lured 4-year-old Derek Roby into a secluded wooded area as the young boy walked to summer camp. Smith subjected him to a vicious and prolonged assault, leaving the community in shock and disbelief. After Derek's body was found, a manhunt ensued. Eric, known for his red hair and glasses, quickly became a suspect. He was apprehended and confessed to the crime, with forensic evidence supporting his guilt. Smith's age became a central issue in the legal proceedings, prompting intense scrutiny of the juvenile justice system. Questions arose about whether a child could fully comprehend the gravity of such an act and if it was justifiable to treat him as an adult. Ultimately, Smith was found guilty of second-degree murder, and despite his defense attorney's efforts, he was tried as an adult. Sentenced to 9 years to life, he was eligible for parole after serving 28 years. In 2021, he was released after nearly 3 decades in prison. His grandfather echoed his own words, stating, "I saw the blonde kid, and I wanted to hurt him." Smith's case has fueled debates on rehabilitation potential and the appropriate approach to juvenile sentencing. T.J. Lane. Thomas Michael Lane III, or T.J. Lane, is a convicted criminal known for the deadly school shooting he committed, which deeply shook the nation. Born on September 19, 1994, Lane became one of the most reviled teen offenders due to his actions and courtroom behavior. On February 27, 2012, at 17 years old, he entered Chardon High School in Ohio with a .22 caliber handgun, targeting students in the cafeteria during breakfast. His attack claimed the lives of 3 students and left 3 others injured. The victims were identified as Daniel Parmenter, Demetrius Hewlin, and Russell King Jr. The motive behind Lane's attack remains unclear, with some reports suggesting personal grievances and mental health issues as contributing factors. Lane's troubled past, including behavioral problems and a difficult family life, added complexity to his case. After the attack, a teacher detained Lane until authorities arrived, leading to his arrest on multiple charges. In court, Lane displayed disturbing behavior, showing little remorse and even smirking, making obscene gestures toward the victims' families. He wore a shirt with an offensive word and addressed the families in a degrading manner. In 2013, Lane was found guilty and sentenced to life without parole, with the judge condemning his actions as pure evil. The tragedy brought attention to school safety and mental health awareness, highlighting the need for early intervention to prevent such violence. Nathaniel Brazzle. Nathaniel Brazzle's crime drew national attention for the senseless nature of the act and his young age. Born in October 1986, Brazzle was only 13 years old when, on May 26, 2000, he shot his teacher, Barry Grunow, at Lake Worth Middle School in Florida. The confrontation began after Grunow reportedly reprimanded Brazzle earlier that day. Brazzle brought a stolen handgun to school, which he used to shoot Grunow in the head. The incident sparked discussions about gun control, school safety, and media influence on youth. Brazzle was arrested shortly after the shooting and charged with first-degree murder. During the trial, his defense argued that the gun discharged accidentally during a struggle. However, the prosecution maintained that Brazzle had intended to harm someone by bringing a gun to school. In 2001, he was found guilty of second-degree murder and aggravated assault, sentenced to 28 years with parole eligibility after 25 years. Brazzle completed his GED and became a paralegal while in prison. Craig Price. Craig Price, often referred to as the Warwick Slasher, gained notoriety for the chilling crimes he committed in Warwick, Rhode Island, during the late 1980s. Born on October 11, 1973, Price exhibited violent tendencies from an early age, engaging in animal cruelty and showing aggressive behavior. However, his path took a darker turn in 1987, at just 13 years old, when he began a brutal spree of attacks that horrified the community. Price's first victim was 27-year-old Rebecca Spencer, whom he attacked near her home, leaving her lifeless. Less than a year later, he struck again, targeting Joan Heaton and her two daughters, Jennifer and Melissa. Price broke into their home and brutally assaulted all three victims. The Warwick community was gripped with fear as police launched a desperate search for the criminal. Suspicion eventually fell on Craig Price, who had a history of violent behavior. After a witness came forward with incriminating information, he was arrested in 1989 and ultimately confessed to the crimes. Price's age at the time of his offenses was shocking, making him one of the youngest serial offenders in American history. Due to his youth, he was initially convicted as a juvenile, sentenced to stay in a youth detention facility until he turned 21. However, Price's violent tendencies persisted, even leading to assaults on fellow inmates. These continued incidents led to a reassessment of his case, and in 1992, he received a longer sentence. Throughout his incarceration, Price has remained a controversial figure. He showed little remorse for his actions, with incidents of further violence behind bars raising doubts about his potential for rehabilitation. Craig Price continues to serve time in a Rhode Island prison, symbolizing the ongoing debate surrounding juvenile crime and punishment. With these cases, one might wonder about the capacity for evil across all ages. The unsettling tales of young offenders prompt essential conversations on early intervention, mental health, and community safety. Stay tuned for more intriguing content, and click the card on your screen for more stories.